Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What's that? Something looks different? Maybe that's because today I am sailing towards my review of World Cruise Story. World Cruise Story is one of Kairosoft's first titles, but today we are uncovering if it floats or sinks in the immersive catalogue of spectacular Kairosoft games. Let's depart on my review and uncover how good this simulation game is. Captain Wow, it's Bao here. Today's forecast is showing positive signs of scattered clouds and a high chance of reviewing World Cruise Story. What's that? Regular Wow, it's Bao? Never heard of him, mate. Look at me, I am the captain now. Looking for a brand new game to pick up? Well, today we are answering the question, is World Cruise Story worth the sail? World Cruise Story has you equipping your totally legitimate captain's hat to design the layout of your very own cruiser ship. This game is one of Kairosoft's layout-focused games, this title in particular having heavy emphasis on the layout gameplay aspect. You are in charge of customizing every room, facility, and even plant of your very own luxury cruiser. But it wouldn't be called World Cruise Story without incorporating mechanics including countries spanning all of the world, with the end goal of attracting citizens from all around the globe to sail on your very own customized ship. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's crank those anchors up and get departed into the gameplay. Ah, World Cruise Story. Nothing says comfort like the early Kairosoft game catalog. We're jumping right into this game, naming our ship the SS Anne, departing on our very first cruise. And to help us on the way, we have our very own first mate here to help us at the helm of this journey. I'm glad to know you're here with me, first mate. If you need anything, I'm Captain Wow, it's Bao, and I'll be on the bow of this ship. Wow. Hold on to your allocated ship deck seat. This video will feature a grand amount of ship puns. We start off our grand journey by welcoming aboard our very first customers. Here we have Mr. New Grad, and he's headed to Zipang, along with our second Patreon, Housewife. Right off the bat, we are introduced to one of the core aspects of this title, having multiple countries that your ship is able to cruise to as destinations. I really dig that this game introduces unique countries that you will both visit and then pick up new customers from. The unique flag designs are just the cherry on top of the cake too. It's fun to guess what countries they are based off of. And now it's time to play a quick game of Guess That Country Flag. Let's see here. To start with, we have a flag with a shrine in the middle. Well, this is an easy one. I think this is clearly Japan, and correct. The name it uses is Zipang, which is an antiquated name for Japan. Next up, we have a panda and heavy themes of red. That's gotta be China. In this game, it's named Chongguo, another name for the country. Lastly, we have, well, what do we have here? A top hat and themes of blue? Perhaps it's the United Kingdom? Britain? Well, close enough. My favorite one was America, which is just named America. With our first residents now settling into their dream vacay room, they are now able to do literally anything that they want. With this newfound freedom, a good majority of them just sit in their room and hang out in there, occasionally visiting the vending machine. Relatable, I get it. Oh boy, I need to add some new facilities, and lucky for them, do I have just the idea. What better new amenity to add other than the good old slot machine? Oh yeah, here comes the money. They already sunk a fortune paying for their holiday cruiser tickets. Time to strip them of even more of their little remaining cash. But don't worry, they have a vending machine within convenient walking distance to also spend more money on if they are low on energy. What's that? Nourishing food and a restaurant? Hahaha. Please, you've got all the substance you need with Gatorade and canned Pringles from the vending machine. Now get back to the slots! In no time, all of your residents will have gambled all of their savings away, be broke, and just say no money while hanging out in their room while waiting for the ship to arrive, reflecting on their poor financial choices. If you're a broke boy, just say so. Okay, I guess it might technically be a violation of basic human rights if they are unable to purchase anything other than processed chips from vending machines on a multi-day trip across international waters. You might have a point there. So let's develop a fancy new restaurant for them to check out and offer a bit more of a diverse range for their entertainment options. And before you know it, in no time you'll be unlocking brand new facilities and adjusting the cruiser layout to your favorite aesthetic, very similar to Hot Spring Story. Looks like we just unlocked the gym from our fitness buff customer over here. Let's set up the gym right on the closest edge possible to the windows on the sides of the ship.
Nothing says working out like using your exercise bike with the breathtaking view of the ocean and intrusive thoughts that you'll fall off at any time, like that scene from the Titanic.
Nothing gets the blood pumping like that. He fell off.
A massive highlight to these layout-based games is just relaxing and watching what your residents get up to in their daily schedule. I have mentioned this in previous videos, but it just never gets old in Kairosoft games. Look at our friend just chilling on the deck in his chair here, just relaxing. What a good time. Oh, Jesus! I hope that horn didn't disturb him too much. Oh, he even left a tip after hearing it. Maybe it provided ambient white noise that he enjoyed listening to. Captain! Yes, that's Captain Wow, it's bow to you. We just got a telegram? What is this, the 1800s? I guess it was one of the earlier form of communication for boats, but even so, radio was still used after the 1900s. This is one old boat. Or it could realistically just be a reference to how boats use telegrams to communicate to other rooms within the boats, like the control room. Or Kairosoft secretly knew about the development of the Telegram app 2 years before it was released.
These are all very real possibilities.
I really dig the pixel art aesthetic of this game in particular. While all Kairosoft games have a great art direction, this one in particular just really hits the spot for me. Something about the pixel art in these early Kairosoft games is just so peak. Especially at nighttime when the lights are turned on. The daytime to nighttime change with all the lights glowing and watching your customers all scurry back to their dorms to sleep before the next sunrise is such a nice vibe. One thing that this title does great is providing a glimpse of all the countries that you dock and depart from. It's a great detail showing the unique country landscape and features, showcasing unique details and structures not seen anywhere else. They didn't have to add unique settings and sprites for all of the countries that you briefly see for only an amount of seconds as the customers depart, but it's a fantastic detail that they did include it. And don't get me started on how you can see new customers wave at the staff and run after the boat as it pulls in.
Hey! Stop the boat! Stop!
Such a wholesome detail. I love Kairosoft's attention to detail so much, and this title really shows it off well. The animation design in this title in particular is also top notch. I love the animation of the residents using the spar. Just check out how much fun this old man is having dipping his head and blowing bubbles. Been there, brother. Been there. The palm trees just swaying idly in the breeze as the ship glides through the ocean, and the detail of interaction with all of the facilities is such a great touch. It helps the game feel really immersive for a pixel art game. Nonetheless, a title released in 2011. Yes, you heard me right, 2011. While we're on the topic of this game being almost 15 years old as of this recording, let's rewind and look at the history of World Cruise Story. World Cruise Story actually has a bit of a unique history for its initial release dates. As we have seen with other Kairosoft titles on this channel, typically the iOS store was blessed with receiving new games first exclusively, before later being ported to the Android store. World Cruise Story was the 18th iOS game, releasing on March 17, 2014, but on the Android store, the roles have been reversed. World Cruise Story was the 5th ever Kairosoft game internationally released, debuting on November 15, 2011. World Cruise Story set a historic release, being the first game to ever break the standard traditional iOS release order by such a significant time gap of over 2 years before it was later released on iOS in 2014. My theory behind this was Kairosoft was eager to test out different releases for their platform to see which ones performed better, as sort of an A/B testing. It is really interesting that this was the first game to be ported with such a delay though. The 4 titles released before World Cruise Story were Game Dev Story, Hot Spring Story, Grand Prix Story, and Pocket League Story, with the first 2 titles being the same order, and only Grand Prix Story and Pocket League Story being shuffled up by a couple of release spots in comparison to the iOS release. I thought this was a rather fascinating piece of Kairosoft history trivia. It is great that Android users were finally able to play a brand new release years ahead in advance of its rival store, which already hosted a much larger variety of Kairosoft games.
With the history of this title all checked out, let's navigate this review back to where we left off.
As you progress through the game, you will compete in Kairosoft's iconic yearly competitions. When it's time to have your boat reviewed, you will be alerted that a reviewer is actually going to board your ship to fully experience their own personal luxury boat trip. In the case of my playthrough, the first reviewer was here to judge our restaurant's fine food, and dear God, look at him pulling up on us in a stretch limousine just to board the boat. Oh, you guys had to drive and park at the cruiser? Ha ha ha, out of my way, I have food to review. I hope they have ratatouille on this menu. I assure you, Mr. Reviewer, we have the finest cuisine of all the seas here on the SS, and especially our prized waiter here who never breaks a sweat holding the exact same pose, just waiting to serve you at any time. Seriously, this guy deserves a medal for Employee of the Month. Nay, Employee of the Year. I haven't even seen him move a single muscle. That's dedication to being the finest server possible. He can even telepathically remove and clean up the used dishes without even lifting a finger. I don't know why you're wasting your time on this ship, my friend. You could be fighting for justice as a superhero in Heropolis with that talent. After you complete the initial review, for the next upcoming reviews, you can actually pick what type of reviewer you want to come around. This is a great game feature that helps the yearly competition aspect of this game not feel as repetitive, as you can pick from 4 unique primary categories. So if that gosh darn pretentious food reviewer is giving you a hard time, try mixing it up and invite someone who reviews facilities next instead. Check out this cool food reviewer here. I couldn't resist inviting him on to judge my ship's food. He looks like he could be the secret third ice climber. Investments, which are another staple in the Kairosoft series, also return in this title. You are able to invest in requests to unlock new facilities and even in new countries to increase the relationship you have with their government, increasing visitors to your cruise ship. I found the animation for completing an investment to be particularly hilarious. You just throw a bag of money at the investors from the top of the boat. Kobe, imagine if all the investments went this way. No digital transactions, just physically throwing your money at the investor.
Yes, I would like to buy 10 stocks in your company. And don't you worry, I've got all the money bundled right here conveniently for you.
Looks like our first ever ratings are in for the SSN, and fantastic. We got a 2-star rating, which actually isn't that terrible considering it's our first ever review in this playthrough. The spring water in particular was my favorite.
What the Sigma?
The favorite food item that you had was the water? Are we even sure this guy is a food reviewer?
Hey, this guy's a phony. A big fat phony.
I also really find it hilarious that when you complete a certain request, you unlock the internet. Maybe this game really does take place earlier than expected in the 1800s. I just invented the World Wide Web with one small investment. Oh god, what have I done? I just invented the World Wide Web. I hereby declare that I, Wow It's Bow, am not responsible for any of the upcoming tragedies that were spearheaded through being easily shared on the internet. Now quickly, we have to warn Tom from MySpace and Browser Flash Games about the grim fate that lies ahead for them. Dated references aside, you will also later unlock the ability to welcome onboard royalty from across the globe, inviting kings from countries all over to inspect your boat. You will have to dust off your finest suite to impress these kings, and if successful, you will be introduced to a new country which you can sail to. A key aspect to succeeding in impressing the kings is by having a room with particularly high comfort. I had to pull out my finest tricks to impress these nobles by handcrafting what I like to dub the bonsai suite. I hope you don't need to get up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, as you'll have to jump over bonsai trees literally in every direction. I really enjoy this aspect of progression in the game, but I wish there were just a couple of more countries to unlock. The total amount isn't too large. The best aspect of this mechanic, maybe even the entire game, by far, is how the kings depart from your ship. Earlier we saw the food reviewer pull up and flex on us in his limousine, but check out the king literally soaring in on a private helicopter, and then when he has finished his trip, he just jumps onto a dangling rope from a helicopter over the ocean and gets escorted out of there. He doesn't even have time to wait one more day until the ship docks. The helicopter just lands on the ship and scoots him out. That's the most badass thing I've ever seen. If I am ever a president, consider this the only way I am traveling around. That must be one hell of a strong rope. It must be attached to the helicopter with flex tape. Let's jump into talking about the unique Kairosoft Quirks of World Cruise Story. As it is an earlier title, you can bet your money that this game has both the iconic combo and aura features. Combos are pretty standard in this game, but one thing I did notice was that this is one of the first titles to introduce combos with negative effects. I actually found this out accidentally as I placed a toilet next to the boat restaurant, which is commonly seen in almost every restaurant and required by law in most countries. Especially in my stomping grounds at Australia. Any restaurant that has a capacity of 20 or more guest diners has to have a restroom. I guess it makes sense that it is negative with the logic of not wanting a dirty toilet close to the food. but it gives me a chuckle that it negatively impacts the restaurant's quality just by having an amenity available to its residents. Aura's return in this title, and there isn't a lot to comment on here other than the fact they have gained a super rad rainbow texture. Seriously, this is ace. This just might be my favorite Aura texture ever used in a game. It looks like the residents just smashed through a random item box in 10th place in Mario Kart and gained a superstar, zooming around to their next facilities. Check out these two aura'd out guests. They are going straight to the exclusive rooftop Poke Machine to hunt down the ultimate jackpot spin. And that perfectly segues to the next Kairosoft quirk, a brand new quirk that was first introduced in World Crew's story. This is by far the best Kairosoft quirk of this title, and it is one of my favorite Kairosoft unique features in any game they have ever made. I am always eager to see this implemented in Kairosoft games. You may have noticed that I've been holding off from discussing the obvious floor button at the bottom left of the screen. Obviously, with it always being accessible on the menu, it's going to play a large part in the game. I am, of course, talking about being able to manage multiple floors in this title, with the floor button allowing you to quickly switch between the levels you are currently viewing on your boat. One of the main features of late game progression in this title is expanding the total number of floors of your boat, with the maximum going all the way to floor 5. This is a huge expansion and really helps flesh out any design plans that you have for your dream boat layout. Now that I have unlocked my second level, I'm going to theme it after a very special facility. That's right, it's the Gamba floor. Everyone gets a gambling machine. I want there to be more ATMs and slot machines in this floor than an Australian pub pokie section. If gambling can be the backbone of the economy for the entirety of Australia, it can do wonders for being an extra floor of a place where guests are literally trapped while they are floating through the endless sea nights, being guided to the flashing lights and sounds like a moth to the flame, or should I say, a Kelly moth shields to the flame. Excellent. Now that this floor has more flashing lights than the streets of Dotonbury, no one will be able to resist the urge to gamble their savings away. And there's even a pool and a massage section in the corner for when you need to dip and wash away your feeling of guilt after losing all your money on gambling on red at the roulette table. Outstanding. We all know just how amazing my room designs were in my Dream House Days video. Just imagine floors of my custom bow layouts. That would be impeccable. One unexpected feature that really took me for surprise in this title was the soundtrack. The music in this game is, in my opinion, one of Kairosoft's strongest assortments of compositions in their titles. I usually criticize the music for being a tad lackluster and a bit forgettable. But man, I just gotta say, the main theme for this title is spot on. I mean, just listen to these synthesized trumpets and woodwind instruments dancing with each other back and forth in the main melody. Needless to say, bonus points are awarded for the music in this game. Fantastic work. The only downside is that there isn't that many tracks and they aren't longer. It would be fantastic if they were extended a bit, but this is a massive step up. Before we wrap up this review, let's go over the bad of this game and what can be improved. And I gotta say, there isn't a whole lot of bad to this game at all. The main issue I could find is the gameplay starts very slow in the initial years. There really isn't a lot to do and you'll have a lot more time to just relax and watch your residents go about their day when you generate income.
This, in my eyes, is always a super fun thing, but I could definitely see it being an issue for people that want more things to manage at any time.
But in my opinion, the elements present in this game are so fun and well implemented that you will have a great time customizing the ship in your free time while you wait for the game to progress. Another main issue might be the ship itself is relatively small to work with during the starting years. This of course is resolved later on by the addition of new floors, but this isn't available till later in the game, so certain people might be burnt out by that point.
But I personally enjoy this, as the layout mechanic works really well as the primary focus of this game. It will really boil down to if you like slower paced titles. This game introduces two aspects which I feel could be game-changing Kairosoft mechanics if they are later expanded upon in future titles, but I think they are more so missed opportunities.
The first being the aforementioned floors. While it's an amazing feature and you can unlock a fairly large amount of new floors, maxing out a total of 5, which is a great amount, it would have been fantastic if you could unlock even more larger amounts of floors, perhaps exclusively in new game runs. This would allow you to have more flexibility to be able to customize entire floors to be themed, with no drawbacks of having to utilize the small size as much as possible to make optimal combos, as there just isn't that much land space. Imagine if you could have 10 floors, you could go crazy with your floor themes. But 5 is a fantastic start in this game, and I would love to see more Kairosoft titles in the future bring back this feature. The next is the idea of the countries themselves. While you get to see a small glimpse of each country as you dock your ship there, that's where it ends. Imagine if you were also able to design and customize a small town area for each of these lands, complete with unique facilities that are exclusive to their home country.
Again, these last 2 points are just missed opportunities, as opposed to the aforementioned criticism I mentioned before, the slow pacing at the beginning of the game.
But I thought I would mention them as they have so much potential for later game entries. I covered ideas for both of these subjects in my personal most wanted Kairosoft game video, having customization for multiple levels in my hotel story game suggestion, and having visitable countries worlds in my Kairosoft world story suggestion.
And with that, we have reached the final destination, and what a journey that we have been on. I have covered everything that I wanted to talk about in this game, so let's jump into my final thoughts and review of this game. World Cruise Story is simple in its gameplay and mechanics, but it offers a whole lot of heart in its customization and its charm.
In this title, you set up the layout of a world cruiser ship in an attempt to wow guests, professional reviewers, and even new demographics from undiscovered countries. There is a whole bunch to unlock and a large amount of space to personalize to your liking. In particular, the feature of having multiple floors to adjust really makes this game shine. Despite being one of the earlier Kairosoft games and having more limiting gameplay, these gameplay elements are extremely well done, making an enjoyable and replayable experience. I rate this title 8.5 out of 10.
I'll always have a soft spot for Kairosoft early games in my heart, as they were some of the first mobile and, well, any games in general that I ever played.
But World Cruise Story still holds up extremely well despite being one of Kairosoft's first titles ever made. It doubles down on focusing primarily on a layout-based title like Hot Spring Story, and expands it by introducing features such as multiple floors and attracting guests from all across the globe. This game is definitely a contender for a Kairosoft title that deserves a sequel for sure, and I had a blast reviewing it.
So what do you think of World Cruise Story? Is it also at the top of your personal favorite Kairosoft games? Or is it a title that you would prefer to steer away from? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and comment "I'm a fan of the SSN" to let me know you made it this far in the video.
My review of World Cruise Story was actually voted on by you, my loyal subscribers in the Bow and Friends Discord, in a poll for what game I should review next on the channel. So if you want to participate in future polls and even suggest which game I should review next, feel free to join the Discord.
And finally, a massive thank you from me, Wow It's Bow, that's right, I was the captain the whole time, for supporting the channel. I can't wait to show you my next videos I've got lined up, so make sure to subscribe to watch those. And if you want to watch more content, check out my other reviews on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Ah, gotcha. You were going to click off this video pretty quickly, weren't you? I just need to see your subscription, please. What's that? You're not subscribed and you're watching this far into the video? Well, a like on the video will do instead. You haven't liked either? Well, I'll just wait here till you do. I've got all day. Okay, I don't have all day. I've only got 3 seconds. Please like and subscribe.